Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. It's good to see you here. Listening to another episode of my podcast where I explore different astrological aspects of different people's charts for fun, and I enjoy doing it for you. I hope you get something out of it. I hope you learn a lot about astrology and get to really dig in and get in depth about what makes us successful, what makes us succeed in different areas of our life at different times. So today, I want to talk about none other than Mr. Katt Williams. I've been looking forward to talking about him. I think we have all seen the interview with Shannon Sharpe last year. So I've been looking forward to doing an episode on him. I want to give it some thought, see what direction I want it to go. I think there's at least a couple of different areas to go with his chart. And I decided to choose to, for one, explore his path to fame and just make a astrological breakdown of that. But I only wanted to, and keeping what I usually do, I want to only go with one thing, pick one thing out of a person's chart so that we can kind of focus in on understanding what happened and what went on and what, helped someone succeed. So I gave it some thought to try to figure out what I wanted to focus in on exactly. And I decided to choose one of the more controversial statements and stories brought up in Katt Williams' interview with Shannon Sharpe on his podcast. And that is his infamous role in Friday After Next. I say infamous not because it was a bad role. It was a good role for him. It helped him break out, as he explained in the podcast, where his condition and what he was in his life at that time and how he really needed that role and really needed to, for things to work out for him. But infamous because of the bit of controversy that started after the interview, being him getting the role versus Ricky Smiley getting the role. It was another comedian who has a radio show. So I decided to start with that. And I think that was the appropriate place to start because there were some indications that things would turn around for him specifically. And go back to where I was. Okay. So basically, in case you've been, under a rock and don't know who Katt Williams is, Katt Williams is an American stand-up comedian and actor. He played Money Mike in Friday After Next, was a recurring guest on Wild 'N Out, which is Nick Cannon's show, like an improv show, which I've talked about Nick Cannon on Wild 'N Out recently. He portrayed Bobby Shaw in My Wife and Kids, provided the voice of a pimp named Slickback in The Boondocks, and Seamus in Cats and Dogs, The Revenge of Kitty Galore, and portrayed Lord Have Mercy in Norbit. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh at that name. Anyway, so that's Katt Williams, the stand-up comedian and actor. And we're going to talk about the role Money Mike for Friday After Next. And this movie came out, I want to say November 2002. And, sorry, let me go through this. He said a lot, and I'm just going through my notes here. He said a lot in his interview with Shannon Sharpe. And I'll bet, as the anniversary of this interview approaches, I wouldn't be surprised if, more people go back to watch that. And I understand your desire to do that. It was definitely entertaining, even for over 2 hours. I'm pretty sure most people were able to watch it. It was that entertaining. Anywho, without further ado, several reasons why this was a good time for Katt to break out in this particular role. So first, Katt has Gemini over his 11th house, and Mercury rules Gemini, of course. So that ruler of the 11th was ruler of the 11th and the second houses in his first. So my perception of this is 11th house rules gains, especially from a career. So that means Gemini type, Mercury type stuff was meant to work out for him, especially since the second house also rules earned income. For him to have Mercury in the first house made him great for writing, speaking, performing, comedy even. It showed that he had a flair for words and being able to use them to make money. And the connection to the first house puts him out front and center, meaning him using his likeness to succeed professionally and to make money. In this situation, his likeness being the development of this character, Money Mike, via the hair, the clothes, all those things contributed to him being able to break out in this role. Okay, second, his 2002 solar return chart has Capricorn rising. Now, oftentimes people with Capricorn rising in their solar return chart, and by solar return chart, that's like the yearly chart, the chart that you get basically every birthday, right? He had Capricorn rising on a solar return chart. And a lot of times I find that means that's a big career year for a person. And it's a good opportunity to move. If you're in a job, and you don't like your job, or you feel like you've outgrown a job, or whatever the case may be, and you decide that you feel like you want to leave, is very likely the year that you have Capricorn rising in your solar return chart, you will probably leave and find something else. I know that I've had that happen to me in the past, and I've seen it happen with other people as well. People usually move on that year professionally. So that's something that really stood out to me as well. Also, he had his solar return moon in 0 degrees Cancer. Now, this is considered the Aries point, and it's when a planet or angle is in 0 degrees, Aries, Cancer, Libra, or Capricorn. And the reason being is these are the cardinal signs. And so this happens sometimes for some people. Some people have it in their birth chart, and some people have it maybe like in their solar return chart. And so when this happens, it's something to pay attention to. So he had his solar return moon in 0 degrees Cancer, and that fell in his solar return 6th house, ruling work, in his natal 11th house, where he was supposed to gain. So this is an opportunity for change, because Cancer is ruled by the moon, and moon usually has fluctuations and changes and stuff like that. So that gave him an opportunity to see some changes and some development in his career, in his career specifically. He also had solar return moon and solar return Saturn meet together in his solar return 6th house. This was a great time for him for a big change in his status and career. Natal Saturn in his natal 10th house, ruling career and status, which makes the solar return Capricorn rising even more influential to him. So, in other words, for him to have Saturn in his birth chart in his 10th house, having Saturn meet up with the moon in the house related to work, is even more confirmation that his career, his work, this was going to be an opportunity for him to move up. And then you have the Capricorn rising and solar return also suggested that he was going to have an opportunity to move forward. He also had solar return 8th house over his natal 2nd house. So he mentioned in the Shannon Sharpe interview that he was basically homeless when he made the movie role. And when he made the movie and that role came around, and he really, really needed that role to work out. So 8th house equals major changes, a transition, and just an opportunity for a huge, big change in someone's life. Then, of course, second house has to do with earned income, money, also a talent or resource. So this can be interpreted a major change in money, but also a transition based on a talent or resource or ability that he had, and he was able to use that to make money. Last but not least, he had a solar return, IC-MC, like midheaven, on same axis as natal MC-IC. So basically what I'm trying to say is they were switched. So the IC, which is like the nadir, the opposite of the midheaven in your chart. Midheaven usually ruling career. The very opposite of that IC is like the nadir, the very bottom of your chart. So that was conjunct or really close to his solar return MC. And on the flip side, his natal return MC was conjunct really close to his solar return IC. I've noticed that when angles or houses kind of line up really, really close together, just lining up to each other like that, sometimes that can be a point of noteworthy area in the person's life, something to really pay attention to, especially since the IC typically associated with the fourth house having to do with home and family, but also security. So it can be emotional security, family security, but also financial security. And so this was like a suggestion that his security issues would be addressed in this particular situation. And so I just saw just a lot of things that suggested that he would have an opportunity. Basically, from what I see in his chart, without a shadow of a doubt, that role was supposed to be his. However anyone else might have felt about it at the time, I can't imagine anyone feeling differently at this point. But part of what was mentioned in the Shannon Sharpe interview is that there were some feelings from comedian Ricky Smiley about him he's supposed to have that role. Looking at Katt Williams' chart, I would have to say Katt was supposed to have that role, even if somehow the role was suggested to Ricky. The person who was supposed to get the role got the role. And so if you had any questions about that or wondered about that, please be reassured. Katt received that role because he was supposed to have that role. And it was obvious in the way that he delivered the role. He did a great job with it, and he knew how to really deliver it. And this was really his opportunity, really his time to branch out. And it looks like he hasn't really looked back since. So I hope that's been helpful. If you have any other questions about Katt or anything else you want me to address about Katt and what I saw on his chart, I'd be happy to do that. Let me know in the comments. And I will see you next time.